Hello, everyone. Um, I'm sorry I cannot be there today, but yeah, I'm happy to present my project presentation with everyone today, as I think this topic is quite helpful for everyone, and I think for the other sides as well, with regards to how we are able to keep our nurses in our side. So, just a quick background. In 2020, I was part of the Mantle program um, clinical leadership course as well. But due to certain circumstances, I was on leave. I had to go. I wasn't able to attend majority of the sessions, so I had to drop. I had to stop that training that I had on year 2020. But that is when this project started. So this was an ongoing thing from that time, but I never managed to complete it during the time because I never completed that mantle on 2020, that leadership course. So my topic is about how how to decrease the resignation rate, or how do we manage to keep our nurses in our site or in our facility longer. I mean, as we all know, so many nurses are going to DHB, higher pay rate, penal rate, all of these things are factors for that. So background for our site, um, we usually have 12 nurses full time, two unit coordinators, and a clinical manager. So during that time, I was a new, pretty much new clinical manager, but I was a unit coordinator prior to that one. So before we are complete, we really didn't have any vacancy for nurses on that time. So as the year passed, I think that's around 2021. That's when the start of the nurses going. So one of our nurses left. So she's a close contact of us. So we did ask her like, oh, what may be the reason why you are leaving? So the first reason that she gave was definitely the penal rate. So DHB paying a higher penal rate for our nurses, and which we really couldn't stop that one. She did explain it's pretty much family concerns with supporting the family back home. So when we heard about it, and because that was during the time when DHB was offering large pay or higher pay rate, our side, we did notice that this can be an issue. If one started to go because of that reason, there's a high likely chance that others will follow. So knowing that this one will occur, we started training our level 4 caregivers. We actually raised it up. So it wasn't really much of help when we did raise it, because it was only starting. So the concern was still not there, but we can see that it's already starting. So what we did is we had a look with our level 4 caregivers. So we started training them, because what we're thinking is, uh, sooner or later nurses will start going. So just to preempt that foresight that we had, we started training these caregivers. So training medications, training to do their assessments, training to basically function more than what a senior caregiver can do. So we had that time while we are training them, the nurses started going one by one. So with pretty much the same reason, they are being offered a higher rate. They are being offered the higher penal rate. So of course, when one goes, we had a close clinical team. So when one left, they are in touch with them. They were actually given a feedback like, look, I'm gaining more pay in the hospital. So they started going. So up to the point that I was left, or our facility was left with just two nurses, two unit coordinators, and that one of the unit coordinator went for maternity leave, and just me, clinical manager. So during that time, so we have this green brain state and that red brain state are happening already. So um what do we do? That's the question. We don't have any staff. How can we function? We don't have any staff. So we gathered around, the nurses pretty much talked about it, and we just had a meeting. So okay, um, we asked them like, what what's the plan? So pretty much that's also their question to us. What's the plan? So I also returned that question back to them. So what is your plan? Just an honest conversation. No one's going to get offended, but I want to know um, your position as well, because at least if we know where we are, then we can already plan ahead on what we're gonna do. So I have to step back. I have to compose myself and be brave to talk to the team about it. So one of the nurses among the two had already informed me like, look, Ivan, even me, I'm having problems with supporting my family in the Philippines. So I also have a plan that applying to hospital. So it's not now, but it's still a plan for me. So okay, so I thanked her for being honest and inform me about that. So the other one stayed. She did inform me like, look, um, I'm still happy to stay as long as you tell me what your insights or what your plan for the team, because with this one happening, what are we gonna do about it? Okay, so at least that's a plus. That's a plus. Someone is already willing to stay as long as they get updated with what's happening. So from that, we already discussed it with the team, like a whole team. So it's just a small team. There's only like one, two, three, four of us left. So we're just brainstorming. So even that other person that was going was included still on that one. Even though we know that she's going, we still involve her with our planning. So yeah, pretty much there's really nothing we can do because we're kind of like stuck. We don't get applicants, we don't get new nurses, and the nurses resigning was just quicker than how much nurses we are getting. So even though if we are getting applicants during the time, even after a month, they still resign, because what we learned is when they apply in our site, and we've got DHB Middlemore who's close to us, they actually also send an application to Middlemore. So what happens is um, we respond to them quickly, but then even though if hospital responds to them a little bit later, we have hired them, but because they have a plan of going to the hospital, they still go there. So after a month of training, they still decide to go. So it was really a battle. How we are functioning, people may ask. We were used to using a lot of bureau. And actually, the good thing there is because remember, we started training staff, the caregivers. We managed to maximize their potential, covering for the floor while the nurse oversee them. So even if we have really less nurse during that time, we managed to still function as a care home. So we stopped all the admission. I think everyone would be familiar with that one. So that was like a temporary solution, but the problem is still there. Why are we losing the nurses? So there was a nurse that's been staying in the facility for a very long time. So that was me. That was me. I've been in the site for 11 years. So I've asked the nurse pretty much the other one is staying because he wants to know what my plan is. So I really couldn't get much to that one. So I asked myself, why am I still at David Lange after those 11 years? Why am I still here? What made me stay? So there's no other person that can answer that aside from me because I was the longest staying staff or nurse in the site. So it ended up to me having one answer, which I will discuss as we go along. Okay. So what we did is at first we had three plans to on how we can retain the nurses. So remember this planning this didn't involve just myself and the unit coordinator. The two nurses that was with us, the one that's remaining, they were also part of this one. So we walked through this as a group, not just by one person's deciding or just not just by the management deciding. So we involved them. So the first thing that we did is feeling of belongingness. We made them feel that they belong, and that's what we've been doing. So remember I was telling earlier, we involved the two remaining nurses in the group. So when we actually did that one, we managed to kind of like promote um, independence to the two remaining nurses. We made them feel that, look, any planning that's happening on the clinical team is pretty much involving them. So they have a word, they have a say on what's happening. So this issue was a plan, or this issue was being sorted by the four of us remaining there. So they gave their inputs, they gave their say, um they told us on, okay, look, Ivan, this is something that we may need to look at. Okay. Oh yeah. So yeah, bring it on. What can we do on that? So we made them feel that they belong as a team. So they're not just worker or they're not just RN following orders from coordinators or the clinical manager. So it's something that we did. So what we noticed, it created a positive impact on those two nurses. Now the other nurse left after. So we now are left with that one nurse remaining, just still looking for, okay, what is going to happen on the site. So it it kind of like um gave us so much worry, actually, to be honest. Who would not be worried? No RN on the floor. So, or there's not much RN on the team, and we're really relying on bureau. So there came to a point that we didn't even have a bureau because bureau cannot fill up our vacant shifts. So even if we call med call, even if we call senate, they cannot cover our shift. So we ended up with me, the UC, and the other RN that was remaining covering each floor. So we had to really take turns to do that one. So the second one that we did was understanding and being empathic. So as a leader, when we are pushed to that kind of situation, I think majority would respond to it like, okay, this is what we need to do. This is what needs to happen. So we try to impose what we want to happen without thinking how our team feels. So the second one that our team did was be understanding, being empathic. So as a leader, for me, I try to put my shoe like on their shoe as a nurse. So how would I like to be treated? So I have transitioned from starting from caregiver to nurse, nurse to UC, UC to CM, and now as a CHM. So I've been always holding on to that one question, and that's how I actually try to train myself. So if I am in that position, how would I like my manager to treat me? Or how would I like my manager to respond to me? And that's how I respond to them. So what I notice is like, yes, it's no one's perfect. People make mistakes. But when they make mistakes, do we try to ask them? Do we try to understand what their situation is? Sometimes at the heat of the moment, we try to push them, no, you need to do this. So when we do that, what are we doing? We're just trying to like really tell them what to do, which is part of our course. We were trained to really avoid doing that one because it doesn't really help with the conversation. So we try to ask them like, okay, if someone was not able to, let's just say an interai was not able to be completed. Imagine there's only three of us left. So an interai was not able to be completed by that last RN. So we tried to change that response, like, oh, it's not about, oh, why didn't you do the interai? How come the interai is not done? So we changed that response or that question to like, oh, we still have a few interai left. What can we do to actually complete this interai remaining? So from that position, we changed our approach to, okay, she that remaining nurse that wasn't able to complete the allocated interai to her responded like, look, Ivan, I'm having problems with my family, so this is something that I really couldn't take. I had to go on time. I couldn't really extend. um okay, so that, I mean, that's fine. I fully understand, giving the benefit of the doubt. So okay, so what can we do? Still, we need to complete this one, but how do you think would make it possible for this thing to be completed? So she then gave me solution. So like, okay, maybe I can do 1 hour every day of my shift, or 2 hours every day of my shift, doing a part of that interai. So at the end of the day, I can still accomplish something, although I cannot finish that interai, but after two or three sitting, I should be able to complete it. And she said, okay, then yeah, go for it. Look, we're here to help each other. That's what I told her. Even the UC and me are going to help with the interai. So don't think that you are doing this on your own. We are doing this all together. So we try to do that. Rather than responding negatively to the staff, we try to respond positively in a supportive way. So that nurse that was still in doubt during that time say, okay, we actually noticed that this nurse became independent, or kind of like, she's growing to someone that's different, not just a regular nurse. So she's being part of us already, like a leader. So the third thing that we did was nurturing. So what we did was we tried to empower the staff, that remaining RN. We tried to nurture her, um, kind of like trained her. It grew her, and we managed to bring the good potential, or um, the good thing out of her being a nurse that we didn't see when she was just like a regular nurse. When she got involved and when she got trained, we saw that, look, this can be a possible leader actually. So with those three factors that we did, we managed to actually be let that nurse be part of the planning team. So she was not just a nurse that listens to us. She was a nurse that contributes to the team. So with those three things, remember the question earlier that I asked myself, what's making me stay on in Bupa? So if you see at that three things that we've seen, we've got the word fun. That was my main reason. why I am still at Bupa, because I'm having fun. There's higher pay outside. I'm fully aware of it. But on my point of view, I mean, yes, money contributes a lot. But on my point of view, if I'm happy where I am most likely going to stay rather to start in a new place. Yes, with a higher pay, but my personality is like, look, I prefer fun rather than pay. I know I'm not in that position to say that, but it's something that we trialed with our team. So it's not all about work. No one's going to be working 8 hours full time and just completely working and working. I mean, they're not robots. So we introduced fun in the site. So there's still life outside work. So what we did is like, look, once in a while we went out as a team. So it's life outside work. We try to go out, have dinner, enjoy non-work related things. So when we actually did that, I noticed that that team, the three of us, were getting close. So the bond is there, which kind of like held everyone together. So we even started doing casual talks while we are at work. Look, we are always short staffed because we didn't have a nurse during that time. But despite that being short staff, we still okay. How are you? How are you doing? We did that. We did that like a simple asking of question like, oh, okay, this is something. Oh yeah, having coffee together. It kind of like helped them, despite knowing that there's really what's this? I would say resources, but there's no manpower to work for that shift. We still try to find a we still try to find a way on how we can laugh, smile, and have fun at work. So after doing that one, we did get an application of a nurse. So one nurse came. Oh, sorry, no, two nurses. Two nurses came at the same time. So fresh grad. So they came. So what we did is the same thing. We tried to do that. We got them involved with everything. We got them trained. We nurtured them, even though if they're just fresh grads, we nurtured them. So our group started to grow. And then the other UC who was on maternity leave came back. So I have updated her on what we have done. So we just continued doing that. So what we noticed is, I think everyone was familiar. Mm, we really had, I think, less applications of nurses during that time. So even though if we didn't have any applications before, what we noticed is we were getting referrals from our team. Oh, okay. Look, Ivan, I've got a friend looking for a job. So I've informed her about our team and she's keen to join. Oh yeah. Give the CV, we'll process. So we continued doing that. One by one nurses came. So when we started that project, when I started that project for that, what I noticed is up until now, we really have a very, very low resignation rate, as in very low. The nurses that have been with us are now with us for quite a while. So from during the time that we only have one nurse, now we have 8 nurses now. So we're just lacking four left. So we have 8 nurses that's been with us. And I think everyone's pretty much aware with that retention bonus. I think among that 8, I think there's only one. No, there's only 2 that didn't sign that retention bonus. Everyone signed, which is a good sign because look, for a year, you'll be having the same team. So and it it was a positive thing because people stayed. People want to stay. So what did we learn on this thing? Things can happen. Unfortunate events can happen, and which during that time was the losing of the nurses. But as a leader, does it make us stop? Do we stop from there? I remember when we are in the Philippines, we were trained to be resourceful. Philippines had a limited resource of, I mean, have a limited amount of resources as a nurse. So we were not trained to ask. We were trained to use whatever we have around. That's how we are trained in hospital. And trust me, I mean, you might not want to hear how, I mean, our situation because it's really not ideal. But that's how we were trained. We try to be resourceful. Whatever resources we have, we just try to make use of that. So it's not about complaining and okay, no, I won't work because we don't have that. No, it's not that. Still continued working. So things can happen, but putting our green brain on top of it, we can plan. Even though, look, this something that we cannot stop. It's going to happen. People will go, nurses will go. But what can we do? What can we do on top of it? So the other thing that I think I learned on this is we become more of a leader than a manager. So what I mean by that is we lead the team, we lead a team of people. So we don't like okay, we don't impose what we need to happen. We want to happen. So we try to ask them, okay, what can be done on this one? We try to um, make them feel that they are not just staff. They are people who can contribute. And one thing that I learned is like, look, even like now, I'm a care home manager. There are still things that when when I make that decision, um, sometimes I notice that some of my nurses, I mean, my decision may be good, but one of the nurses would say like, look, Ivan, how about this? Oh yeah, well, actually that's a good one, a better one than what I've thought. So we try to get their input because like I remember that activity that we did. It's like that survival. So we had that one person who was quiet that time that may actually have the best response to it. So as a leader, we look at everyone in the team. It's not just one person thinking of a solution because you don't know that quiet person in your team might be the person that might have the best response on your problem. So ask, learn to ask. I mean, not just because we are leaders, we don't we don't try to ask them anymore. So that's something that I've learned along the way. So these things are something that I really want to share to everyone. I know it's still ongoing. Nurses are still scarce. It's hard to get applications, but look, applications can come probably after. We try to focus on, okay, what can we do to retain them? So we don't we don't just have people working for us. We actually have a team who can contribute on the success of the facility. So yeah, it's just something that I'd like to share for everyone, and I hope it's quite helpful. I'm pretty sure whatever we learned on this leadership training is pretty much very, very valuable and something that we can actually apply and use on our day-to-day basis as a clinical manager or as a care home manager. So yeah, that's it for me. And congratulations to everyone. For us to complete this course, and I'm sure whatever we are taking home from this course would be really really helpful in our day-to-day basis. So yeah, congratulations everyone. See you.